Good day, subscribers. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am Levi. This is the Cybersecurity Education channel. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day today. Today we're going to be talking about things that you should never do with a debit card. So you're one of those type of people that you use a debit card for every single purchase that you make. You don't use cash and you don't use credit cards, or you kind of use a debit card for pretty much everything that you make the majority of the time. First of all, claps to you. That means that you probably are financially responsible. You probably have a decent amount of money and you're not using credit all the time. So that's a really good thing for you. Unfortunately, at least in the United States of America, most people spend their money via debt on credit cards and rack them up, and they're in a bad financial situation. But there's some big risks for you using a debit card all the time that I'm going to be talking about in this video, that credit cards and cash really don't have those same type of risks. The big risk with debit cards is you can have fraud committed against your account. When that fraud happens, they can drain your entire account out, zeroing it out so you don't have money to pay your bills and stuff like that. Otherwise, your financial institution might shut down your account while they're investigating it, leading to the same result where you don't have any money to pay your bills and stuff like that you don't have problems with credit cards and cash. The other thing I'm going to talk about in this video is debit cards don't really provide the protections that credit cards do either. So in this video, I'll list the protections that credit cards do provide that debit cards don't have. I'll list the areas that you shouldn't use a debit card and why. And this information will help you to best protect yourself and the items that you're purchasing. So let's go ahead right off the bat here. We're talking about the liability between debit and credit cards here. So if somebody goes and steals your debit card, or they steal your debit card number and use it online or something like that, your risk is $0. So that's not too big of a deal as long as it's not used. It's a key point there. If they steal it and then they go ahead and they use it somewhere, you're liable for the first $50 in 2 days. If they steal it and use it somewhere and you don't report it within 2 days, you are liable up to $500 in between 2 days and 60 days. If you report it within that time range, you're liable up to $500. And then, so if that's not a big kicker there, the big one is over 60 days. If you report it after that, it's unlimited. So basically, you could potentially lose up to the whole amount that was stolen. So yeah, that's not really that great of a deal, right? So on the flip side, we look at credit cards here. Pretty nice here, $0 if not used or the number was stolen. So if your credit card was not physically stolen, but they just stole the number off of it and used it on a website, or they manually entered it into a machine, you're liable for $0. And then the $50 of the credit card was like physically stolen. If they took your card from you and used it somewhere, you're liable up to $50. And the nice thing is most of the credit card processors will waive that. So you can already see why you should be using a credit card over a debit card anyway. Just for, these three bottom lines here, you're automatically liable up to $50 for the first 2 days already. And then if you go over 2 days without reporting it, it automatically jumps to $500. I mean, that's quite a bit of money for a lot of people. And then that unforeseen risks that you didn't see it in 60 days, which I hope that you're paying attention to your statements more than checking it every 3 months or whatever. You can be potentially liable for that whole amount, right? And really going over these 2 days, I could see a lot of people not seeing the transaction in those first 2 days and being nailed up to $500. So those are kind of the differences between credit card and debit card safety nets that you have. So now we're going to talk about places that you should never use your debit card. The first place is where you hand off the card to someone else and then they go ahead and run it. Usually it's restaurants or it's bars. And the reason is you lose track of that card. They bring it in the back and they can do whatever they want with that card. They can have like a card skimmer there where it pulls the information off of that card and steals it, and they can basically clone that and make their own card off of it. They can write the numbers down on the card and use it that way. And then the other big risk is, when the card gets brought back to you, like what if they forget to bring it back, or you forget to take it, then that card's sitting there for somebody to go and use, right? And a debit card, they have a PIN on it, but PINs aren't that hard to get. If they have a skimmer, they can steal the PIN off the card like that. Or they could probably figure out your PIN, because most people set super easy PINs, right? Your PIN's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 anyway, right? So yeah, debit cards are a huge risk in this environment, because there's a lot of potential for your debit card information to get stolen. And as we talked about before, the liabilities for debit cards are way higher than they are for credit cards. You know, $50. If somebody uses that, you automatically lose $50 off the bat in the first 2 days, right? And if you don't catch it within 2 days, it's $500. 2 days is a pretty short period of time. A lot of people don't pay attention to their statements that much, and if it doesn't show up on a fraud alert, you're not going to know, right? Whereas if you're using a credit card in those situations, most of the time you're not going to be liable for anything. So the next one is gas pumps. Basically, the biggest risk there is there's card skimmers on there. It's kind of like the same thing as a restaurant. You know, there's a little device that's put on the gas pump a lot of times that criminals will put on there, and it can capture all your card information. Well, it's the same deal. The liabilities for debit cards are a lot more than for credit cards, right? So that, you know, you got that $50 in the first 2 days, you got the $500 after that, and then unlimited liability after that 60-day period. So, it's just a higher risk situation, kind of like the first one. And then the same with online too. You put your debit card number on that site, it goes ahead and gets compromised, you don't know about it. And then two days later, you didn't check your statement, you gotta pay $50 because you didn't see it, or you gotta pay $500 because you didn't see it. These are just they're very high risk situations, and that's why you shouldn't use your debit card in those situations. A credit card is always the best option in this situation, or cash. All right, so now we're gonna talk about the credit card perks, like places where you really should use credit cards. It's not really the debit card risk is still higher, obviously, but these are the places that credit cards are really worth using if you financially can. If you're financially responsible enough to do it. So electronics and high-cost items. Generally, those items have extra warranty on it with a credit card. You can generally get double the warranty that you have if you have a credit card. And sometimes even more than that. Like, I think I have a card that has 3 years warranty on electronics and stuff like that versus the one that you normally get. So that's a pretty good deal. Travel, like a lot of times credit cards have policies where if your trip gets canceled or something like that, or interrupted, they'll refund you back on it. Sometimes they can even have like coverage for emergencies and stuff like that. Car rentals, a lot of car rentals, if you use your credit card to purchase the car rental, they'll go ahead and they'll give you, if you get in a car accident, you'll have insurance provided by them through them. Your cell phone bill, some of the credit card companies will pay for your cell phone, like if you damage it or use it or something like that. So it's good to use a credit card for that. And then also just the cash back bonuses that you get on credit cards. You know, like I have a credit card where I get 2% cash back on everything I use. If you're financially responsible enough and you're paying off the balance every month, that's free money to you. You know, I think I got like $200 or something not too long ago from that. So I mean, that's free money. Obviously you need to pay your balance off, and you need to have enough money to pay off your balance every month. You don't want to be paying interest and stuff like that. So those are the kind of the perks of using credit cards over debit cards. And then, you know, you have the extra added security of the credit card, where most of the time your liability is going to be $0 versus paying $50 to $500 to the full amount that's gotten stolen, depending on when you see when your card was used, unauthorized, right? So the point in this video is, if you have this fiscal responsibility, I highly advise using a credit card for every transaction. If you don't have the fiscal responsibility, really try to avoid using your debit card at places where you have to hand somebody a card and then have them go bring it to the back, like restaurants and bars. Try to avoid using them at gas tanks, and try to avoid using them online. By just doing it in those three areas, you'll save yourself a lot of financial risk. Obviously, you should probably always be keeping up to date on your statements daily, just to make sure that nothing like that happens. Then you put yourself at a lower risk. But with a debit card, if you notice it within the first 2 days, you're still on the hook for $50. So And then, you know, with the debit card, you have that risk of all your money getting taken out of your account, and depending on how long it takes for your bank to investigate that, you might be down that money and not be able to pay your bills and stuff like that. So that's another consideration to think about when you, to use a credit card. I hope you guys enjoyed this content. Thank you for watching, guys, and have a great day.